So hey everyone, today I'm going to be doing a book review and this is my 5th book review. So I've started getting into the habit of book reviewing and stuff, so any support, likes, comments, subscribers, it will be a great pleasure for the support to get to my dreams of just receiving books and doing more book reviews. I tend to review books that are more unique, that don't have a lot of reviews. So I did Fractured Tide, The Gala, and another one that I can't remember what it was called, but they're all in the book review folder on my channel. And my 5th review is going to be I Know You Did It by SUE WALLMAN. This is kind of a mystery thriller type book that I feel and it keeps you on edge to it keeps you guessing as to who the killer is going to be. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about the author first, about how many books she's done, her writing style and stuff like that before we read the synopsis, and then the bit about the story and then my thoughts. So SUE WALLMAN has written, I think this is her 7 books so far. No, 6 books I believe. So we have Lying About Last Summer, See How They Lie, Your Turn to Die, and Dead Popular, which they are all listed in the back here. She recently has done this one, I Know You Did It, and then her newest novel. These are all novels, by the way, so there's no follow-up books to them. So if you just want a one-off book that you can read that isn't dedicated to a series of 4 or 5 books, these are all roughly mysteries and thrillers and that, so this will be your cup of tea. And then her newest one is Such a Good Girl, but it's actually Such a Good Liar, but I've put girl on the paperwork, but it's actually Such a Good Liar. So these are all of her books, and then obviously, just in case if you want to see the covers in colour, those are her books. SUE WALLMAN has quite a unique writing style. Her books will keep you hooked, guessing, and for me, I'm not really kind of into murder, kind of crime, mystery, thriller books. That's just not kind of my cup of tea, but SUE WALLMAN writes them so well. So she writes them so well that I'm hooked. I read this book quite a lot and I managed to get it done within like a week. So yeah, and the cover is really super pretty. So yeah, I'm gonna read the blurb to you now. So, changing schools is a killer. On her first day at a new school, Ruby gets a message on her locker, I know you did it. She's terrified that someone knows she caused a little girl's death many years ago, an incident that haunts her still. But when students at the school start dying, Ruby realises she's being framed by another killer. Or or she might be next. So with this book, before I carry on, there is going to be a lot of spoilers. So if you haven't read it yet and you like what I read on the back, or you want to check it out for yourself, don't carry on with this review because I'm completely and utterly going to spoil it for you. So Ruby and her mother Ruby starts off at a new school. She's paired with Georgia and Amber, who have the same lessons, who are buddying her to show her the ropes around school and to show her like who's who and who's the troublemaker, who's kind of good, that kind of thing. So that was really kind of interesting to see that and know that. So yeah, when Ruby was little, she had an accident with another girl called Hannah where they were at the playground and she pushed Hannah forward on the big slide, I believe. So when Hannah fell off of the slide, she hit her head and sustained a really bad head trauma, which later resulted in her death, which obviously Ruby was responsible for that, but due to them both being minors at the time, I believe there wasn't much done about it. So Ruby had to change schools and one thing and another, so she joined Robertson's because her mum took a new job in I can't remember the town, it's like, begin with B, it's kind of like a city, but I can't pronounce it to save my life. But yeah, so her mum accepts a new job. Her sister Alice is at university studying, so Alice does a lot of phone calls to Ruby through, I think it's like WhatsApp or video call and stuff like that. So she does a lot of calls like that to and from her sister while her sister is going through a really traumatic at Robertson's. Um, so yeah, so she's responsible for the little girl's death, Hannah. But what we find out later in the story is that Hannah has a twin sister called Mara, and that was really interesting because at the beginning there's no mention that Hannah had another sister or that Ruby even knew about it. So getting on to that, we meet the other characters called Scott. Scott's a very enthusiastic with the at Robertson's they have a school paper that they do like a newspaper for. He's very clued up, does a lot of research, and he tries to find out Ruby's secret of what she did to Hannah when they were younger. Yeah, so saying this, Scott's very enthusiastic about the paper. He does a lot of digging and stuff, and he does try a lot. There's a homeless guy called Jim Mason who gets attacked by Monique Isaac, and I think it's Monique Isaac and Georgia. So basically, Monique and Isaac are kind of the bully of the characters. They're not very nice characters at all. So they kind of cause problems for other students and that. But throughout the story, Mara finally introduces herself to Ruby and tells her that she is Hannah's twin. She wants to know what happened that day from Ruby, so they meet up at Cath's, they exchange numbers. Ruby goes through in great deal about how the accident happened, how Hannah died, and stuff like that. With Ruby and her mum, her dad is a musician, so he took most of the furniture and kind of left the three of them high and dry. Well, more Ruby and her mum, because her mum suffers from ME, chronic fatigue syndrome, which is what I have, which was really interesting to see that medical condition in a book. So the grandparents, which would be Ruby's mum's parents, donate furniture to them, so they come up quite a bit. And Ruby has notes put on her locker being like, I know you did it, but this is all linked to Mara, because at the end of the story we get a reveal that Mara had set Georgia up to do as Mara was told, to then basically pull a knife out on Ruby and then to have this massive kind of fight and palaver type thing. So Isaac is the first victim to die by Mara by having the weights changed, and the weights fell on his neck, so it was a press bench accident type thing, so he was the first victim. And obviously with the killer on the loose, with the second person to die was Monique, who was poisoned by having rat poison put in her water bottle. So by the two of them dying or being murdered, it causes a lot of problems for Ruby, where she gets bullied a lot and the whole school looks at her as she's the killer when she's not. She regrets what she did when she was younger and stuff like that. And at the end of the book, we find out that Monique, Isaac, and Georgia, the other two, had set Georgia up to pour urine over Jim Mason's, over him when he was being attacked by the other two, and it was caught on CCTV, and Ruby eventually works out who did it. So Ruby helps Georgia, sorry, I was just looking at my bit of paper. So Ruby helps Georgia with her timekeeping in her laps, and Georgia takes her over to like a playground type thing where they kind of sit and have a talk, and then Georgia pulls a knife out onto Ruby, and Georgia tells Ruby the truth about Mara and what she done and stuff like that. once the confrontation and they've both fallen off, and Mara comes and Ruby thinks that she's going to save her, but then Ruby reveals that she was out for revenge all along. Yeah, so that Mara reveals all along that she had a perfect plan to kill Georgia, but Georgia survives because Georgia poisoned herself. But in the story, she survives, and that Mara basically wanted revenge for Ruby killing her sister when she was younger. So that is the main plot of the story. I have a full kind of review if you want to check it out on Instagram and stuff. The writing style is very unique. I absolutely like it and I loved it. I don't know whether I'd reread it again, but it's definitely worth it if you want a story where you're going to be glued to it and really engrossed by it. I don't know if that's the right word, but you know what I mean, when you're like, you can't keep out of the book. This one is definitely for you. Her writing style is really unique and it keeps you going throughout the whole book. And the thing that I like about this book is that we have 45 chapters. It's 341 pages, and each chapter is 10, not even 10 pages exact. So with the chapters, it's very, very easy to keep a record of what you're reading and stuff, which is how I do my book reviews with my Aldi and one thing or another. So I really, really like this book, and for this book, I'm going to give it a 5 stars, and that I highly recommend that you read it if you want to check it out and stuff like that. And the paperwork will be on the Facebook and the Instagram, just in case if you want to read my more in-depth review. But that's kind of a rough synopsis of the storyline, what happens, kind of thing, and then reading the blurb and one thing another and going through. So any support for my channel for this book review, I would very, very much appreciate it. It would make my day. And thank you very, very much for watching.